there's a new study that's out that have found that cars are officially the worst category of products for privacy. And of course, if you're doing things in your car other than driving, then you could be in big trouble.
Is it a kink or a turn-on for some people, do you think, Karina? Has this sort of come up in the dating, coaching and relationship space?
There certainly are people that are quite exhibitionists and might enjoy that, but showing someone what you're doing on the street, say, for example, compared with sharing your information on your sex life with car manufacturers is just a little bit different, I think.
So how are they sharing it with car manufacturers?
Well, it's really bizarre. They can collect all sorts of personal information, like from how you interact with your car or, if you're using connected services in your car, all of that sort of stuff. But, of course, a lot of them have cameras and movement sensors. Some of them are sending information on your driving record, say, for example, to different insurance companies. If you are perhaps a lead foot, that might show up, or if you've had a few dings. And, of course, at the moment, a couple of manufacturers are collecting so much that they actually have information on your sex life if you choose to do that in the car.
How are they able to know that then? Is it just purely based off the amount of technology that cars now have?
Exactly, that's right. And because they have movement sensors and all sorts of things, they would be able to tell if the car wasn't actually moving per se along the road, but being perhaps rocked in a different way. They would be able to tell that. So maybe they're wanting to collect this data in future to make cars more sex friendly. I'm really not sure. But it is a bit of a breach of privacy, and we have no control over personal data that the manufacturers get.
It does take me back to that iconic scene in the Titanic where, Rose and Jack found themselves in the cargo area. Do you think this is what, has been something on people's to-dos or bucket lists perhaps since that movie came out?
Absolutely. I think that would have increased the thought of most people that, maybe I could do something like that. But a lot of people, the idea sounds good, but if you're not an exhibitionist, then you would probably be quite horrified if someone discovered you. And I've heard of a few of these incidences happening as well.
What are some of those incidences that you've heard?
So a couple that's a friend of mine went for a walk one day down near the beach up on these cliffs, and they decided they'd climb up high on the cliff to look down at the beach. And when they got to the top of the cliff, in the middle of nowhere, they found a couple having sex. So they were really like, do we say anything? Should we just back backwards? Like, what's the protocol here? They said it was really awkward. I said for them, certainly it was awkward seeing that, but who knows whether the couple actually didn't mind being discovered or thought, we thought we were fairly safe here and no one would be walking past. It's hard to say.
Well, it's all fun and games until you get caught, right? So
Exactly right. And I mean, we used to think that the worst was if we were, doing something in the car, having a bit of fun, that we might have a policeman knocking on the window and, telling us to move on. But to think that we don't even need to have that and someone might know what we're doing, it's a bit mind-boggling, really.
Is there other things that we need to be mindful of apart from being caught by, those that might be around?
I think that that's obviously the biggest one, is being caught if you don't want to be caught. But also, I guess if you're going to be doing something like that, you'd want to be able to be perhaps wearing clothes that you could quickly get back into place if somebody did happen to come across you.
I'm Jess Naunton, and today on Risky Business you're hearing from dating coach Karina Chapman, and we're learning a little bit more about how car manufacturers might know a little more than what we thought when it comes to our intimacy within vehicles. If we go back to that scene in the Titanic with that hand falling down the window, Karina, and those days it was, a vintage car, we can now say. And these days we're talking about the high tech that are in our vehicles now, I guess, spying on us and our sex lives. But how steamy can it get in a vehicle these days?
Well, that's true. And I think it depends on the age you are as well. I think maybe younger people are a little bit more nimble.
Yeah.
For anyone a bit older, it's not really the most comfortable place to be indulging in shenanigans like that, I would think. I would have to say. You don't want that gear stick going in the wrong spot, or the handbrake perhaps, or accidentally turning the handbrake off and, going for a further ride than what you expected in the car. Could be quite dangerous. But maybe they're using the information so that they can make cars more friendly towards that type of amorous behaviour. It's hard to say. What are they going to do with that information otherwise? I can't imagine.
And it's not just in vehicles, or this sort of technology, because it's also, I believe, in smart TVs and other products that we now buy and have around our households as well. So it doesn't seem like we can escape if we want to have our own sexcapades.
Exactly. I mean, we even think maybe of the webcam on our laptop as being something that is fairly safe. But I have seen where people are, say, looking for scammers, they can actually hook into their webcam on their laptop and see them and what they're doing. I used to think, when people said, oh, put a cover over that little camera because someone could be watching you, I used to think, oh, surely not. But I think you're a bit paranoid. But now I'm thinking, oh, that could be possible.
The manufacturers of these vehicles have to think about, so much when it comes to the making of new cars and developing new sorts of styles of vehicle. Do you think this is something they're going to consider down the line?
I think they will, because, of course, the more that they can learn about their consumers, the more they can, I suppose, produce a car that is more in line with what the wants and needs are of their current clients and who they're trying to market the car to. So it certainly is possible in the future.
As a dating coach, Karina, what have you heard from couples or from clients or people that you generally speak to about this sort of thing?
They're usually quite shocked. They don't realise that they could be being watched when they don't think they're being watched. But I think that a lot of times if we're just starting out dating someone, we're often not in the car together anyway. I mean, it can be a safety issue if you're going on a first date, giving out your address and getting someone to pick you up in the car and you've got no control. So I think that's probably happening a bit less than what it used to, where that used to be more the protocol many years ago, that was polite to do that, go and pick the person up and take them out and take them back. But nowadays, with all of the problems that we have in personal security and privacy, it's better to be meeting out in person. So you might be more likely to be caught by the camera on the corner in the alley if you're doing something than perhaps in the car at this point. And keep thinking that, how can we have fun without being perhaps offensive to somebody else? I mean, you could go out, if you had a private back garden, you could perhaps, if you're an exhibitionist, pop out there. Now, maybe it's only the people in the plane going over that might see it, but that might be enough. You wouldn't want to be recorded by someone, because everyone's got their camera and their video now, and suddenly be splashed on the internet. So I think that is a big concern for a lot of people.
Karina, is this something that we are seeing happening in Australia right now when it comes to the data collection?
No, luckily for now, it's only happening in the US. But in future, we could be having that same issue where more data is being collected on us, and we might want to think about whether that's okay with us or not before we say yes to actually buying these particular cars. And at the moment, the main brands that are allowing the collection of data on a user's sexual activity is Nissan and Kia.
So it seems like buyers beware. So I guess, we spoke about the manufacturers considering this when developing and making these vehicles. But when it comes to the customer, is it something you think we should be considering before we, buy a new car?
I certainly would be, because I would want to be looking at what is the actual data that's being collected about me and what are they doing with it? Where are they sending it to? Who are they sharing it with? And without knowing that, it's a little bit difficult. However, I'm sure that they've got full disclosure things that we could read if we wanted to read hundreds of pages of small print. But at the moment, it's more about the media being able to get things out to people and make the awareness a bit higher, that it's just something to consider in the future.